This is TWiT.
Why don't I do an email? Let me just reach back.
Reach back.
Oh, God.
Rotate that cuff.
Oh, it's so painful. That's it. My career in the NFL is over. Question, upgrading my iPhone 8. Should I go with a 14 or a 15? Very timely. This comes from Jim in Granite Bay, previously known as Jim from Walnut Creek.
Congratulations on the move.
Yeah. I've been waiting for the iPhone announcement. Should I go all the way to the iPhone 15? Now, he's got a really old one, the iPhone 8. He does need to upgrade because Apple's no longer going to give you security updates, certainly no more iOS updates on iPhone 8. Or would settling for a 14 or even a 13 be a better value? A few $100s one way or another is not going to make or break the budget. I want to get the best value for my money. I do take photos with my phone. That's important. But when I'm trying, usually in vain, to get great photos, I end up putting out my DSLR and its interchangeable lenses. That's interesting. Side note, 50 years ago, I got a master's in computer science. They had computers then? Wow. Spent an entire career designing and building enterprise-level applications, but nearly everything I know about personal technology I've learned by listening to the Tech Guys. Thank you, Jim. We love Jim. He's a nice guy. I know him from his calls. That's a good question.
This is a question that specifically my mom, same exact thing. iPhone 8, do I go to the 14 or do I go to the 15? It's going to be different for everybody, right? It's a matter of what you want to pay. Here is my basic suggestion. If you can afford it and it doesn't even cause like a little bit of hair to stand up on the back of your neck, absolutely go for the 15. The big reason for me is not even all of the great stuff that the 15 can do over the 14, because there's not that much, but it's the fact that the battery is manufactured newer. So that for me ends up being the big...
It's not the same battery tech?
It's same battery tech.
Oh, I see. But it's
one's been going to be sitting in a warehouse for a lot longer.
So just sitting in a warehouse can wear out a battery.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, by the time you get it, it's going to be an older battery, and that is going to result in not as long of a life. Plus, there have been a lot of complaints. I have not had this, but anecdotally, I have seen at least 8 different people talking about, and then 9to5Mac, I think, is even recorded a lot more than that, of people talking about the battery life on their iPhone 14 dropping in efficiency. So I think that if you can afford it and it doesn't raise your hackles at all, go for the 15, because just in the long run, it's going to last you longer. You are clearly a person who can hold onto your phone for a long time. And so getting that latest, greatest means that, the warranties there, the battery is newer, all of that. Plus, if there ends up being kind of anything in this new phone that's wrong, Apple's really good about, within the first month or so, they just pretty much replace them. They fix them. They do whatever needs to be done because they're trying to collect and see what might be going wrong in the manufacturing process, et cetera, et cetera. If it does raise your hackles even a bit, you're going to be happy going from the iPhone 8 to the iPhone 14.
Huge jump.
It's going to be a huge jump for you. It again, the fact is that it's a little bit older, but you get a better deal on it. So yeah, there are all of those indications as well that if you're looking for a deal, go for the 14. If you're looking for, or if you can afford to and it doesn't bother you, go for the 15.
I think there is one thing that might push you towards the 15, and that is the Type-C connector.
That's true.
Because this is the end of the line for the Lightning connector. So you buy an older iPhone, you're buying a phone that's going to use instantly an out-of-date connector. Apple's going to change everything to Type-C, and eventually you'll be harder and harder. I mean, go try to find a 30-pin cable.
Right.
It'll be harder and harder.
You can only find them in hotels or motels.
I think you're going to... I hate to spend... Look, it's like buying a new car. You're spending the top dollar to get the latest phone. It will be cheaper next year. It'll be cheaper the year after.
Yeah, it's always the case.
It's always the case. So I hate to give them that money. If it weren't for the Type-C connector and the points you've made, I didn't even think about the age of the battery, but that's an excellent point. I would say get a 14 or even a 13 because they're really very, very close. We're now at the point in phones where there's just little improvements each year. So it's almost always a better idea from a pure economic point of view to get the last year phone or even the 2-year-old phone. It's that Type-C thing that I think I really worry about a little bit. And I think it probably is worth it. This might be the jump to make. And then you can reasonably say, okay, I'm going to wait another 7 years before I get a new phone.
Absolutely. Yeah. And good on you for holding on to your phone for that long.
By the way, you were right. It's interesting what you said. And this comes from
I recognize the site.
leancrew.com.
Dr. Drang.
Dr. Drang,
on
who
most
is
social media.
The expert, by the way, that the new iPhones are lighter. The weight reduction is 9 to 10%. That's not huge.
Right.
Almost on the edge of what you could perceive. He points out that Jason Snell thought it seemed distinctly lighter. He says it's not the weight of it or the mass of it. It's the rotation.
This is wild.
It's the rotational momentum of the device. It's 15% lower rotational inertia, and that's because the titanium edge is lower mass. So the overall weight is only 9 to 10%. But when you go like this, it doesn't pull you as much.
Got it. Because
of the rotational.
Okay.
So that is a wild, weird thing. But Drang is smart. People are more sensitive, he says. That's one explanation. 9 to 10%. People might be able to notice it. But he thinks it really is about a change in how you manipulate the phone. It's not just the mass, the weight of the phone. It's the moment of inertia.
Oh, because that's almost, think about like a gyroscope.
Yes.
If I, do this with the phone,
yes,
and it's got the steel edge on it versus, that titanium edge, it's not going to pull me to one side of the, look at all this.
So Drang brings the math to calculate the rotational inertia. And he says the moment of inertia is about 15% less. And that you would notice. It's a bigger reduction than the actual mass of the phone. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. Provide more support for MSP teams by keeping their skills up to date in all aspects of IT, including MS Cloud, AWS, CompTIA, and so much more. TWiT listeners will receive at least 20% off or as much as 65% off an IT Pro Enterprise Solution Plan. The discount is based on the size of your team when you fill out their form.